Welcome everyone to Yoga Church. My name's Erin. So we'll start with Ata Yoga Nushasanam, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha Tarabrashti Svarupe Vastanam. Yoga is the practice of being present, be humbling up to the sacred practice. Yoga is the joining of consciousness in the heart space. It's union, essentially. So a lot of us know it just for yoga asana and postures and putting your ankles behind your head. But it's the classical system of yoga is 8 limbs. And we start with ethics and observances, so personal and outwardly. Then we have postures to keep our body feeling good so that we can, sit in silence and not be like, ow, my hip, ow, this and that. We work on lengthening the breath so that we become absorbed in the moment. When we do that, we're able to draw in our senses so that we're less distracted in life. And that leads to dharana, which is focusing your mind on a task or focusing your mind on the present moment. Okay? And then that leads to a sort of a meditation that you go into. Right? And then when you're in that space, you just all the pain washes away and you realize my life isn't as bad as I thought it was, and actually everything's going to be okay. And so yoga has, some people might say steps or rungs. I like to think of it as branches because it's not linear. So it's not like, okay, start with non-harm, and then I gotta go into truthfulness, and then I gotta go into non-stealing. It's like an evolving process within yourself that reveals itself as you practice. And so it's important to be forgiving with yourself and kind. Have some diligence and discipline, and have a community. Because there's too much out there that's telling us not to trust ourselves and and then we forget ourselves. And so having a spiritual community to connect with is really important, I think, and that's why this exists. So thank you for being a part of it. So let's start our practice by closing our eyes, dropping in. So I like to take my hands, just kind of rub my legs a little bit, just kind of ground in. Elise and her restorative yoga did like a little bit of tapping. So take about 1 minute to breathe deep in and out of your nose. Some of my yogis in here might know Ujjayi breath, and this breath creates texture and sound. It's a psycho-spiritual breath that connects the mind and the heart together, so you open up to spirit. It's important with something like Yoga Church, we're going to be talking about yoga philosophies, that you understand it not just with the intellect of your mind, but with the wisdom of your heart. Because then what I say is just what you already know, and I'm just a voice for it. And so breathe, draw inward, connect to your deeper truths. Feel the vibration in your body. And even be accepting and acknowledge any vibration that maybe is a bit more unpleasant. Maybe there's some anxieties or fears or some residual something that you're processing. I have found through years of coaching and leading people, and including myself, my own spiritual path, is that it's not the emotions necessarily that's the worst part, though we think that's what it is, we run away from them. It's the resistance. When we disconnect the mind and the body, we're unable to use the body as a vessel, as an echo chamber, as a processing vehicle to digest any distortions and then come back to a place of peace. So breathe, and whatever you're feeling today, just know that it's okay. You don't have to be anything or anyone. You can just be. Bring your palms palms together to heart center. And let's start our practice with 3 Ums. Inhale. Keep one hand on the chest, one hand on the throat, and then see if you can like reach a finger up towards your jawline, towards your cheek. Now with Om, there's 3 parts. It represents creation, preservation, and then letting go of destruction. And so when you Om, I want the first part to come from your heart, or maybe even down to your guts, but maybe you can feel it in the heart. The second part, goes and vibrates in the throat. And then you want to give some time for that because that's the letting go part. So we're going to inhale and go and I want you to feel the different parts. We'll do this 3 times. Ready? Inhale. Feel it in your chest. Release your hands down. And when you're ready, you can slowly flutter open your eyes. And welcome into this space. So, there's a saying in India that Mother India will not always give you what you want, but she'll always give you what you need if you open up your heart to her. And I found that to be true. If you go into a country like India with your expectations as far as how we run things in this culture in America, she will knock you right on your ass. You know, I have a couple stories to share today as far as like my journey going there. And I've been to India a few times, but this is the first time that I led a training. And so I got to see all those like first time emotions for me when that came up for me the first time. I got to see that happen in real time with everyone around me. It's like, how come this isn't this way? I said this, So I told him to go there, he went there, right? So, for example, in India, store opening times are just a suggestion. It's just a suggestion. I remember I had to get prints for the training coming up, and I had to run around and do things. Found a spot, reached out, okay, showed up, and there's a woman sweeping the steps. And it was, the open time was 9:30, showed up at 9:45. And I was like confused that all the other buildings around, the doors were kind of closed, and there's this woman sweeping the steps. And so I come in kind of in a rush, and I was like, excuse me? And she was like, she just looked at me like, like, what do you want? What are you doing here? And so I busted out Google Translate, which comes in very handy. And I said, oh, the store says it's gonna open 9:30, where is everyone? And she said 11:30. She kind of like shooed me away. So I had a moment that rose up in me, because can you imagine in America, you show up, it's 9:45, you're like, hey, like, you know, all of a sudden my haircut gets asymmetrical. I'm like, I need to speak to your manager. That don't fly in India, just so you know. So I had to check myself, because I felt this sort of like sense of justice, and, you know, India reflects back to you things that you need to work on. And so for me, it's acceptance and patience with others, especially when I have it in my head that it should be this way, and then it's not. That really gets me. If I come in with no expectations, or like, you know, little expectations, that's different. But if I have an expectation, boom. And it made me realize how I do that in my life in other ways. Okay. So, India. There was an experience that I had actually with Laura. We were trying to go to Chamundi, and we were trying to call a tuk-tuk to bring us over to the temple, because we wanted to go explore. Chamundi is a Durga temple, and Durga is the goddess of getting it done. Do you see how she has all the different arms with all the different weapons? Why? Because all the gods, the dudes couldn't handle it, and so they gave it to the woman because they know that she's going to get it done. So, love Durga. We looked onto like Uber just to see how much it would be to get to the temple. And it said 100 rupees, which is like the equivalent of like $1.20, and it was like a 15-20 minute ride. So the Uber pulls up, and he was like arguing with us. He's like, no, 200. And we were like, excuse me, it says 100. And so we went back and forth. We didn't really understand why he was insisting. And then another Uber came, and he said the same thing. And we're like, are these guys like communicating with each other, and they're trying to take a, you know, like just all these, it's good to question. What we found was that the Uber that we finally paid 200 rupees for was actually taking us to the top. Because usually you have to climb 1,000 steps, and they were taking us to the top. And I had just gotten done having a beautiful conversation with one of my students about like to go into a temple, like, isn't it such a beautiful thing to like have to work for it? You have to climb those 1,000 steps, you know? We just had that conversation. And as she's saying it, I'm like looking out, I was like, why are we going up so far? I was like, why is this ride taking so much longer than I remember? And then we got to the top, and I was like, oh, I understand why you wanted 50 cents more. So we got to the top of the temple, and we got adopted by a young Indian boy who was trying to sell us stickers. And we had him, we didn't really want stickers, so we had him take a picture. And then we gave him 100 rupees. And he couldn't understand that why we wouldn't take the stickers. So then what happened is, in lieu of taking the stickers, which eventually we did, he was our little tour guide at the top of the temple. So there's all these like magical things that started happening, and I'll kind of fill in the blanks as we go. To just surrender. Because things started turning out not the way we expected, and Laura can probably tell you a bunch of examples of that that happened in India. But she gave us what we needed, and she gave us the opportunity to grow. And if you look at things in that way from a spiritual perspective, and I realize that's an enlightened perspective and it takes a bit of work to get there, she opens up to you. And so I want you to breathe, and we're actually going to do the king of pranayama breath today, Nadi Shodhana, to balance out the right and the left hemispheres of the brain. So if you will, take your right thumb, plug your right nostril, and you can either just have your fingers tucked like this is Vishnu Mudra, or you can take your index and middle finger and touch the third eye. So plug your right nostril, and actually alternate first, like exhaling through the left, and then exhale to the right. So plug the right with the thumb, and then plug the left with the ring. If anything that you don't want on your face comes out, there's some tissues over there. Sorry, bring notice. Okay, once you do that a few times, let's begin. So fully exhale, plug your right nostril, inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, plug the left, exhale right, 4, 3, 2, 1, plug the right, inhale 4, exhale 4, Plug the right, inhale left. Plug the left, exhale right. Plug right, inhale left. Plug left, exhale right. Plug right, inhale left. Plug left, exhale right. Now plug left, inhale right. Plug right, exhale left. 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 Take some deep breaths, release your hands down, close your eyes, and breathe. And listen. Breathe and feel the bhakti. Feel the energy, chanting sacred syllables, and calling upon the idea of a great mother that takes care of us, that exists within us and around us. We might know some people in our life that just seem like they can get everything done and have it all together. And there's times where we might feel that way. And other times where we feel like we're dropping our weapons all over the place. And so breathe and tap into that energy. We're all connected. This great divine source. We have a mixture of masculine and feminine within us. It doesn't matter gender. can slowly open up your eyes. And so, this last time in India, I got to visit northern India, which was nice. I had only had experience with the south. And I got to stay with my friend Priya and her family, which was lovely. And her father was really funny. His English was really quite good, but he would try to use idioms, like to, I guess, because he doesn't really get a chance to practice that. And so we'd be doing something, and he's like, well, we shall cross that bridge when we come to it. He was like waiting for me. We shall put one foot in front of the other, isn't it? I was like, yeah, okay. Cat stopped your tongue, isn't it? So just using these different idioms, which, I mean, by the way, that's like a great command of a language, just to be able to use those like little idioms, right? And he was our fearless driver. And every time I had these like very big, kind of like raver looking sunglasses. I go into the bathroom, I come out, and he's wearing them. Really funny because he's a very like straight as an arrow type of military guy. But he had a good sense of humor. So I come out and he looks like he's about to go to a rave. Like he's just straight arrow Indian man. So part of our adventures was that we went to this place called Almora. And that was Priya's husband's family, and they're Brahmins. The Brahmins are like the priest caste of India, and so they're very modest. I covered my shoulders, made sure I was wearing like a proper Indian like kurta. And as soon as I walk in the door, you know, and they can't really speak English that well, most of them. And so as soon as I walk in the door, the uncle starts speaking to me in Hindi. And I'm just like, Todi Hindi samajhti, which is like what I learned on an app. It's like, I only know a little bit of Hindi. And he's like, oh. And then he started talking in Hindi, and everyone was translating for me. But he started saying, like, you know mantra? You know mantra? And I was like, a little, maybe. He's like, you think you know mantra? And I was like, maybe. That's what he was asking. And so he gave me a proper Brahmin hazing, which was to put my mantra knowledge to the test. And so I was like clammy, because he was coming at me like he was being playful, but he was like a little aggressive. He's like, do you think you know what you're doing? I'm like, no, I don't, I really don't. I'm just trying and pretending. But he started chanting some mantra, and thank God, 2 out of the 3 mantra that he chanted I knew. And so he said the one, and I was just like hoping, I was like, please say one that I know. And then he's like, Om Bor Bhuvaha Swaha, and I was like, Tat Savitorva Danyam. Like surprise. And then he said another one, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. And he got up, hey! And he patted me on the back, and he was like celebrating and called me an honorary Indian. It's probably one of the best honors I've ever had in my entire life. And then he showed me his prayer room, and if you ever go to India and Mama likes you, she will give you a jar of ghee and a jar of chilies. And I got both of those. Mm-hmm. And she even told me I had to come back because she would give me a much bigger jar of chilies. And so that was the promise that I made to her and she made to me. So next time, bigger than my suitcase chili, she's big. So that mantra that I happen to know, Gayatri mantra, is touted as one of the oldest mantras from the Rig Veda. And so I thought that we would give it a try and just kind of see how it goes. So I've never done calm response with this one with my harmonium or drums. So let's see how it goes. If we make mistakes, we'll just kind of run with it and read into the tapestry of what we're doing here. Okay. So deep breaths. Inhale. Om Bhur, Om Bhur, Om Bhuvaha, Om Bhuvaha, Om Swaha, Om Swaha, Om Tat Saviturvarenyam, back to, in Sanskrit, if your tongue is not jumping and dancing and twirling in your mouth, then you're not doing it right. So if it's a little bit, that's the point. On board. On board. On board. On board. On Tat Savitur. Varenya. Varenya. Bargo. Bargo. Devasya. Devasya. Imani. Imani. Dio Yonaha. Dio Yonaha. Prachodaya. Prachodaya. On board. On board. On board. On board. Om Tat Savitur. Om Tat Savitur. Varenya. Varenya. Bargo. Bargo. Devasya. Devasya. Imani. Imani. Dio Yonaha. Dio Yonaha. Prachodaya. Prachodaya. On board. On board. On board. On board. Om Tat Savitur. Varenya. Varenya. Bargo. Bargo. Devasya. Devasya. Imani. Imani. Dio Yonaha. Dio Yonaha. Prachodaya. Prachodaya. All right, I'm gonna go for it and then just chant as much as you can. And if your tongue is dancing, flip around in your mouth, and that's the point. Woo! All right. Om Ruaha Swaha Tat Savitur Varenya. Bargo Devasya Imani Dio Yonaha Prachodaya. Om Ruaha Swaha Tat Savitur Varenya. Bargo Devasya Imani Dio Yonaha Dio Yonaha Dio Yonaha Prachodaya. Om Ruaha Swaha. Yeah! Tat Savitur Varenya. Bargo Devasya Imani. Dio Yonaha Prachodaya. Om Ruaha Swaha. Tat Savitur Varenya. Bargo Devasya Imani. Dio Yonaha Prachodaya. On board. On board. Om Tat Savitur. Varenya. Bargo. Devasya. Imani. Dio Yonaha Prachodaya. Om Ruaha Swaha. Tat Savitur Varenya. Bargo Devasya Imani. Dio Yonaha Prachodaya. Om Ruaha Swaha. Tat Savitur Varenya. Bargo Devasya Imani. Dio Yonaha Close your eyes and breathe. Feel the vibration. Chanting sacred scripture from a place of love and community. Curiosity rather than having it perfect. It just opens up your heart in ways that allow you to understand where this stuff comes from. I've studied yoga and tried my best hand at Sanskrit for about 15 years. By the time I got to the country where it originated from, on an energetic, spiritual level, I understood so much. And it's because I tried. in the words of my martial arts teacher, you want a maximum try. He knows very little English. Say, maximum try, maximum try. It's a good attitude to have, right? Always try your best, one of the 4 agreements. When you're ready, you can slowly open up your eyes. I had a Malayalam lesson this morning for Elisa's wonderful restorative yoga. Malayalam is the language of my guru who teaches martial arts. It's one of the top 5 languages that they speak in India, and I'm making my way with it. It's very and my teacher, he complimented me. He said, I really admire that you're not afraid to make mistakes. And I was like, thank you. He's like, yeah. He's like, you're really not afraid of sounding stupid. And I was like, he's like, no, it's good. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, you sound ridiculous. So thank you. Oh, but he said, he's like, it's good to make mistakes. And so I was like using my broken Malayalam, and I was like, Koro Pamela, mistakes parkino. Like, I will keep, like, rest assured, no problem, I will keep making mistakes. He's like, Arikuli, which is so, being willing to make mistakes and take risks requires a sort of trust in yourself, and that trust comes from knowing how you're going to treat yourself when you make a mistake. If you know you're going to self-flagellate, and if you know you're going to beat yourself up, then you're less likely to take those risks. But if you feel like you have support, and you have love, then, and especially if it comes from the inside, right? Then we're more willing to put ourselves in situations where we're going to grow. Because you trust on some level that you can handle it. Even if it's going to be uncomfortable. Even if we're going to cry out for pizza after a week of being in India. You want pizza? Really? Okay, we'll love it, baby. Yeah. And so, being compassionate towards ourselves is important. And Matt and I had this wonderful experience of going into a couple of temples. And I'll let him maybe talk about the Sikh temple that we went into. So we have our special guest here today. But I'm going to share my story about walking into a Jain temple, which was when I had my sort of spontaneous rapture, as I call it. So, in India you have to get used to, as I call them, side quests. Because I was like, we were like, oh, we want to go to this art museum, this art gallery, and the guy's like, okay, we'll go, and then, like, that didn't happen, he had dropped us off the wrong place, and we're like, oh, we're like, oh, this place, but he was like, no, this place is better, like, he just made that decision for us, like, I thought it was better, which it actually was, because the place that we went to was closed, it just, like, didn't exist, so we're like, okay. So somewhere in the mix of that, we're going down a side street, and I turned and I just see this beautiful ivory carved building. And it wasn't, like, a lot of times the temples in India, they're kind of like, here's the town and the temple's over there. This temple's just built into the city. There's like some dude selling like dosas, like next to this like Indian pancakes, and then there's some guy selling trinkets, and then there's like this beautiful carved temple. And I was just like, what's that? And he's like, oh, Jain temple, Jain temple. I was like, well, I want to go into Jain temple. I don't know what that is, but. And I have limited knowledge about Jainism. I remember learning it in like history in my college courses. So we went up to the temple, take off your shoes as you do in India. And as soon as I put my feet on that like ivory carved marble, I felt this energy starting to rise up in my feet. And so I walked in, and as you'll notice when I walk into the studio room, you see I touch the ground. So touch Bhumi, the earth. Thank you to the earth, to the studio space. Touch my third eye. Here. May I see with the eyes of my heart in this space. This is essentially what I'm saying. So do that, walk in. And it's just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's all white and just beautiful, intricate carved. It looked like one piece that they carved over years and years and years. So much effort, so much blood, sweat, and tears. And there's these beautiful flowers hanging from the ceiling. And the energy was like, it was like this beautiful humming, like not quite electric, but almost, because it was so peaceful. Like, you know the experience of you walk into a room right after somebody argued? You can feel that shit. You're just like, awkward, right? Because you feel the energy, you know. And the same thing when you walk into a holy space, you can feel that energy. And it was overwhelming. You know, I had just finished a training, you know, I've been guiding people, I've been like kind of mothering them and taking care of them. And it just sort of swept through me. And you know that feeling when you've either like had your foot too cold and all of a sudden it thaws out, or like pins and needles and you try to like walk it off, and it's this sort of pain, but it's like satisfying because you know you're regaining the use of your limb and the warmth is coming through. That's what I felt through my whole body, especially around my heart. And it moved me. It moved me to tears. And I just felt like I was understanding beyond the realm of my mind, and it was working on me in ways that I'm glad my mind wasn't on board, because it would have rejected or fought with it, and it couldn't. It was too powerful. It just took me over. And I was shaking and crying, and not like, oh, let me grab my hanky cry. I was like, let me use my scarf because I don't know what else to do with myself. And there's this process when you go into a temple before you sit at the feet of the guru or the idol or the god. And these gods are representative of pieces of ourselves. We're just sitting and honoring that part. So production, I was walking around at least 3 times. Sometimes you have to do more, 16 and 30. And so I did production, I'm touching each of the corners and just bowing. And when I finally sat in front of the idol, it was this beautiful, it's kind of like, think of like the Buddha and like an alien with really big eyes had a baby. Beautiful smiling. Like the Buddha smile is kind of like it's barely there. This smile is like big eyes, and I just sat in front of it. For those of you who have had the privilege of knowing one of my spiritual mentors, Franny Hoffman, it is like walking inside of Franny Hoffman. As weird as that sounds, but walking inside of her heart. Unconditional love that was so powerful, from heroic non-harm. There's just so many people practicing this and praying inside this beautiful temple. And I felt almost like a magnet drop me to my knees, and I just prayed. I prayed for my students. I prayed for myself and my suffering. I was so grateful to just be led to this space where this sort of serendipity happened. And I felt like a deep part of me healed. Some of you know that like about a year ago I had a stalker that was like, that it took something from me. It really did. When you love a student so much, and then he had some mental health issues that kind of, happened, and then they kind of like turn all this aggression towards you. I never hated him, even though he seemed to hate me so much. I loved him. And that's, I think, what hurt. And in that moment, all of that washed away. It was like, it's not your fault. You tried. You can't save everyone, Erin. It's not your job, even if you could. You guide them, and they choose their path. And it was like, clear as a bell. And I was sitting there and praying, and then all that washed over me, and I was like, I've got my mojo back. I was like, I'm coming back here. I was like, people have to experience this. And then there was a bell that went boom, like just when I was praying, just when I was thinking of playing it small, this bell rang, and all of a sudden my consciousness opened up. It's hard to verbalize exactly what happened in that temple. I just know that it was magical. It changed me, and I share that vibration with you now through this space and through chanting and being. Another wonderful thing that we did was we went to the Sikh temple. And so Matt here has been studying Sikhism along with a lot of other things. But maybe if you wouldn't mind sharing that experience in the Sikh temple, that might be nice to share.
Sure. One small bit of context, they're one of the major world religions, although they're kind of at the bottom in terms of population.
And actually, Matt teaches our philosophies in our yoga teacher training. He's very learned in those you know, like, who the heck is that guy? That's who he is. Just one of the many things.
So it's, from the Indian Punjab region, which is where a lot of the other parts of the world meet with India. So they're historically at the center of all kinds of migrations, wars, conflicts, but also lots of cultural interchange. It's not Hinduism, it's got this beautiful blend of aspects of Sufi mysticism and also like the Hindu bhakti devotional things, where it's like devotion and affection for God. So they have this really beautiful kind of religion and relationship with what they call their gurus. But without going into too much detail about exactly all those differences and what makes it special or whatever, one thing that you encounter right away is when you go to all these traditional Hindu temples, you're supposed to feed the gods, you're supposed to like leave a little something, right? But the exact opposite happens when you go to the Sikh Gurudwaras, which is what they call their kind of temples. It's like the house of the guru, basically. And the guru is the text. It's not a living guru. It's like, this was our last guru, it's the text, it's a beautiful text, and it's how you practice, right? So the exact opposite happens where you come in and they feed you. They're like anyone, everyone, they come in and they feed you. And they also have this beautiful notion of like, real early in the game they were leading the charge in terms of social justice at a time when other religions, except maybe Christianity, kind of weren't really on the same page about that. So that it's this very like socially loving, nurturing kind of thing, and you can feel that in the temples or the Gurudwaras. So it was a really special experience. They fed us, they met us with kindness, and that's just kind of how they roll, and you can feel it as soon as you go into their environments.
One of the things that Matt said to them, he said, "We love the Sikhs because you give to people when they don't necessarily give to you." And without missing a beat, this young man, his English was pretty good, he said, "The Guru gives to us," which is like their spirituality, their faith, their surrender to a higher, bigger force. He said, "By giving, we receive." And they were so happy. And so when we sat down and they unrolled this little rug, and we're eating with our hands on these like metal plates, and they just put dal, and we were so happy to feed us and for us to receive. And they were so happy.
That's probably the easiest on my stomach of any food in India, by the way.
There's food that's like blessed, that's called prasad, which is like essentially like holy food, like it has the energy. It's like when you cook with love type of thing, except for like you're cooking for the gods. And so they gave us that kind of food. And yeah, actually that was pretty good on the stomach. Sometimes the spices get a little mixed up.
I needed it.
Yeah. The element of surrender, I think, is the takeaway that I want you to have from today's sermon, class, speech, your church. And so with that, I want you to close your eyes and take some deep breaths. Tapping into absolute potential, absolute potential. Love, Take some deep breaths. What that young man said at the temple, the guru helps us. Who helps you? The guru helps me. It is my greatest wish for all my students, all my friends, anyone in my path, activate their own inner guru. As a teacher of yoga, I don't wish to be idolized. I don't wish to be put up on a pedestal. I am always making mistakes. And that's part of being human. The best thing that I can offer my students is a safe space, guidance, reassurance, and love. So that they feel comfortable to make their mistakes, and they feel comfortable to activate their own guru. And going through that process, like awakening that inner conscious voice inside of you, there's no roadmap for it, though yoga has a pretty good shot at it. Good try. But you have to trust yourself, breathe, connect with not just the intellect of your mind, but the intellect of your heart. Remember that that is a valid source of information, and that your heart communicates and understands, not verbally, but through vibration. And so what you're thinking creates a vibration within you. These become your emotions, feelings. And so when you can learn to ride the waves and not get caught up in them quite as much, not deny them, but kind of like change your relationship with them. And then you open yourself up to everything else around you and these deeper truths within you, because you can hear them. Because you're less triggered, you're less reactive. And so as you breathe and get quiet within yourself, asking yourself, like, what is my greatest desire? Not from the mind, but from your heart. And then imagining that coming true, like that is for me. Syncing up that vibration, breathing into it. Like, I am love. I am prosperity. I am connection. Life is happening for me. I am loved and accepted. This willingness to be intimate with yourself, with the deeper parts of you that are more subtle. This allows you to have deep, intimate, and meaningful relationships with people around you that are accepting, loving, still having boundaries, right? Still being able to hold people accountable in yourself. It doesn't mean that you're a doormat. It doesn't mean that at all. You can feel and have empathy and understand. So allow your own personal inner guru to guide you. Feel it with your body. Breathe into it. And open yourself up to the power of spiritual intimacy. I want you to take a deep breath, and in a moment, we're going to end our yoga church with some shares from our community, because you are part of the tapestry. And maybe I want you to consider, like in a few words, something that you have overcome and worked through, and maybe like one piece of advice that has helped you to work through whatever obstacle, like you're giving a gift to your community because you are with your presence. And we'll share that in just a moment. And so take a deep breath in. Exhale out. When you're ready, you can slowly start to blink. Open your eyes. do a little share. So when we do our share, please say your name. And then, again, the piece of advice that you have used, like during a difficult time to overcome a challenge. So I can start, and then I'll pass the mic to Matt. I think on my journey for a while, I had a lot of discipline, and but I was not very nice to myself. And discipline without nice means driving yourself into the ground. And so compassion has been the greatest gift that I've offered myself, and compassion in the way of still showing up, and letting it be okay that some days I'm not a 10, some days I'm a 3 or 4, like accepting and loving that person. And so that little shift of perspective has really helped me on my journey as a teacher and as just a human being.
I don't know if this complies with the format that you're doing, whatever, but I guess it's something I've been thinking about just because I've been experiencing it. It's like if you periodically have to inventory yourself for parts of yourself that might be frozen out of deep fear from a long time ago in your life, and you might not even realize that you're clenching onto it. Like some things revolving around security or safety or, like healthy relationships or whatever. Some part of you might be like just holding on because it's afraid. It's been that way for so long that you didn't even realize that it was that way. So you kind of have to like inventory yourself from time to time for things like that.
That's what I think. Thank you, Matt.
Hello, I'm Elise. So with such short notice.
Sorry. I didn't know what I was going to say.
The first thing that comes to mind is trust God, clean house, help others. I experienced a lot of trauma and I experienced addiction. So that is something that I learned in rooms actually. And I really feel like it's a guiding force in my life. Trust God, and then clean house is kind of like the study out of that self-study. Always examining my fears, my guilt, my shame, even my assets, and help others. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Elise.
I'm Bill.
Hi, Bill. But actually, you know what? I didn't remember this, but maybe we can just pass around the microphone so everyone's at home can hear. There you go.
I don't give advice ever. I don't even like to take advice. I'm so grateful that I'm alive because there's no explanation. I should be dead. I took a massive dose of morphine trying to end myself. But that was a springboard for me, and I now have 804 days of sobriety after 54 years of being a really hardcore drug addict. I hear a lot of things. I do this Buddhist-based recovery program called Refuge Recovery. And one of the best things I've heard is the best thing I can do for you is to work on myself. And the best thing you can do for me is to work on yourself. I don't think of that as advice, but just a way to live. And I'm just so blessed and filled with gratitude. I'm blessed to be here right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. My name is Sue. The first thing that came to mind was I learned to live in this world with gratitude. If you can have gratitude, that will allow you on days when maybe things aren't so good to still have grace and show grace.
Yeah.
And and still be able to stay strong enough and do the self-care you need to help others, whether animals, people, community, the earth, be able to still help them, because if you can't help yourself, you can't help others.
Amen.
Amen. Thank God every morning to be alive.
Thank you. I'm Mana, and I guess the first thing that came up with me is to accept the things that I cannot change and stop thinking that everybody should have the same thoughts of that I have. So everybody needs to stop trying to be me. So accepting them for what their thoughts are, and then I can make the choice whether or not they want to be part of my village or not. Simple as that. Thank you, Mom.
Oh, I was kind of hoping it was going to go the other way. Quite a look at it. Well, good morning. My name is Maureen. I think there's wisdom and truth in everything that's been said to this point. What flashed into my mind is a story you're familiar with. As a young person, I didn't have a whole lot of confidence in myself, and I didn't have a whole lot of people who I thought had any kind of confidence or faith in me. But there was one person who did, and when I was at an awkward spot, this gentleman said, we'll do what needs to be done to have it taken care of. And that was wonderful, because then I felt worthy. And so what I would say is, whenever you feel doubt and the gratitude's not working, remember that you're always worthy. You're here for a reason.
Thank you, Mary.
Now I gotta get up.
That's just part of it. That's part of it. Thank you.
I'm Laura. Same as what everybody else said. My big one is surrender. So I'm being stuck in the Delhi airport. And no, you're not going to get home today. It's going to be tomorrow. And I just wanted to fall on that dirty ass floor and cry. No, it's not going to happen. Yeah, so a new job, everything changes. Don't be stuck in the good, don't be stuck in the bad.
Thank you.
Do I press this? No, it's listening.
Check, check. Mic 1, 2, check, check.
Hi, I'm Lauren, and I love everything everyone said. And the thing that came up for me was self-esteem, and something my dad always used to say to me. He used to say, there's always going to be somebody with more and always somebody with less. Just be happy where you are. And I'm trying to impart that wisdom to now my kids who are in that same age I was when I first heard that. It's something I still struggle to keep remembering at this age.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren.
Hello, hi, I'm Jennifer. Glad to be here with all of you today. Guess like everybody, it was kind of like, what was the first thought that came to your mind? And mine almost seem to contradict themselves, but I'll explain. I think mine is acceptance can bring justice, which they don't seem to go together very well. But coming from a background of a family that a lot of trauma was ensued and a lot of things that we couldn't seek justice for, but learning to accept that and allowing that to grow in me and seek justice in other places so that things can change in the world. So acceptance can bring justice.
It's beautiful. And thanks for tying that together. I get that.
Hello, I'm Linda, and I don't want to make it too long. 40 years ago, I started my journey of seeking just knowledge, trying to put pieces together. I was, probably 30, actually 40. And one of the things I always wished, because when I was in my 40s, I was working with people and giving of myself to people, groups, young people that were lost and struggling. And I always kind of thought I lived this charmed life because I hadn't really struggled very much throughout my life, to be honest. But I always thought that this is going to come back to me when I need it, when I'm now at this point in my life where I'm kind of looking toward the end, and I'm in my 70s, and among the energy of these younger people who are on the path, it just makes me feel strong, much stronger than the typical 70-year-old person. Like, I feel like I'm going to be here forever, just trucking on and doing my thing. And so I guess that's my message is all that you're building now someday is going to be the foundation. And you're going to be looking at young people, and those young people are going to keep you going because you've kept other people going. It's a constant circle of life, I guess.
Thank you.
She bounces all up there.
All right, everyone, let's take one last palms together. And thank you so much for coming to Yoga Church today, filling up your cup. You've certainly filled up my cup. And in the spirit of community and raising our vibration so that just with our presence, people find peace and healing. Let's take an Om inhale. For those who have followed my adventures and are interested in coming to India, I have a new shala that has eggs for breakfast, AC, and a hot tub. I heard my last group, so if you're interested in coming to India, I do have a wait list of about 15 people. So if you're not on that wait list and you want to go, we are accepting deposits now. You get an early bird if you pay in full by October 1st. For those who are interested in any of my programs, I have a life coaching program coming up starting in October. And I have a 200, 300-hour yoga teacher training that starts in February. And to sweeten the pot, because a lot of people are like, I want to do all the things. So if you enroll in any of those courses, 200, 300 yoga teacher training, or the coach school, you get India half off, which is a pretty good deal. So you get to do all the things. So if you're interested in that, you can reach out to me or make contact with Laura. Last thing that I'll mention is we have our 10-year anniversary coming up on the 20th. A lot of you have been here for a while, some of you are newer faces, but please come if you're around and celebrate with us. It's going to be a potluck, we're going to do some chanting, we're going to do some special breath work, and 10 years is a huge milestone for this place, a conscious community in Bradenton. So it's from 11 to 1. It's all free. It's potluck style, so if you want to bring a dish to share with your community, that would be appreciated. Thank you so much. Peace be with you, and namaste. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin at erincoach.com.
If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Thank you so much. Namaste.